Good evening and welcome to the March 11th Public Works Session of the Rockville Center Board of Education. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. We have one person joining, so I'll let you know we have emergency exits on either side of the room. We are able to be viewed on YouTube via our website and also on our school channel. So if you're joining us, hello, hope you're well. Tonight's a public work session, so there's no opportunity for visitors, though we do have one visitor of our own, and that is Mr. Mike Anderson. He is our Director of IT, joining us this evening. We'll hear from him a little bit later. So I'm going to just get it over to our superintendent, Mr. Chang, and we will get started.
Thank you, Madam President. Am I on? I think I'm on. I just wanted to give a quick update again. We did have the 12th grade and the 8th grade joining us in full person this week. We were extremely happy to have them back to the classrooms and back in the schools. I can tell you walking around, there was a lot of excited feelings. And it's great to have them in as our first phase-in. As it is now Thursday, just wanted to remind people that we have another phase-in next week with our next phase of 6th and 9th graders coming back in. And we're looking forward to making sure that they have the same welcome as they come in next Monday. So we're looking to have that. As I move forward in terms of my reports, I have a couple of items that I would like to go through, and I also have our technology director here to give us an update on technology. I wanted to give everyone an idea of the budget timeline again, just review that real quickly, because I know that's something that we presented out at the last meeting. What we were going to do is have another budget discussion at the next board meeting, which will be a budget work session on the 25th, where we'll be discussing programming and staffing. Then we will also have a preliminary budget hearing on April 20th, which is the last date for changes to the budget. And then ultimately the formal budget hearing, where you cannot make any other changes, will be May 6th. So we'll be going on that timeline as we move forward. I would also like to remind everyone just some of the highlights of our budget proposal. We are proposing a 0% tax levy for this year, and that is including all the additions that we've put in to programming, to staffing, to ensure that we keep a level of excellence and the expectation that we have of what we're trying to provide for each one of our students still baked into that budget at a 0% tax levy. So we are proud that we're in that position, and we're going to be able to give you some more details as we go through the timelines. And we'll have some further discussions, I'm sure, with the board and answer any questions that they may have. I'm going to move right along into our technology update since I do have Mr. Anderson here. What we are looking to do in terms of being tech ready and being in a digital world with our lessons and our move forward towards instruction with curriculum is to ensure that we have the digital devices available for our students. For that reason, we had proposed a move up of our plan of getting Chromebooks into the hands of the middle school students. And as part of that plan, there's going to have to be a discussion and a talking point about the projects which the board would have to approve for us to allow the advanced purchase of these Chromebooks so that we have them available as soon as possible for our middle school students. So I'm just going to ask Mike to speak to the project a little bit and give us a little bit of an update. Yes.
So, this is on?
Not sure, Mike. Make sure it's green. Sounds like it's on.
Sounds like it's on.
Sounds good.
No formal presentation tonight. I was asked to come here, hang out, and answer questions if you had some. As Mr. Chang mentioned, we're looking to get the Chromebooks into the middle school sooner rather than later. You remember that last year when we did the Chromebooks at the high school, or earlier this year, I should say, there was a long delay in getting them from the manufacturer, months, and that set everything back. So what we're trying to do is get ahead of the curve now and get everything ordered and in-house before the end of the school year. and that means we need to order sooner rather than later. So that's what the proposal was. So we met with Robert, Mr. Chang, and some other people. I spoke with Ms. McGinn about deployment options, and, with the board's approval, we want to move forward with this project. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Could you just give us an idea of how maybe they're going to be distributed in terms of grades or timing of, how long does it take us to have all of our middle school students have Chromebooks in their hands?
It's a tricky question, because really, if we were going to do them next year as planned, we'd be giving them to the current 5th grade, the 6th grade, and the 7th grade, right? And the 8th grade would be up in the high school, and they'd get them from there. So in meeting with Ms. McGinn, we spoke about some options. The 5th grade coming into the middle school would wait until next year, like an orientation, but the current 6th, 7th, and 8th grades would be able to receive Chromebooks at the end of the school year. Ms. McGinn was thinking about the last week of the school and giving them out during the day rather than at night, which is what we did at the high school. So she believes that we can give them out to all 3 grades, all the students, with the parents coming in, signing the agreements, the last week of school, as long as we have the devices.
And do they have insurance plans for the Chromebooks similar to what we had done for the iPads?
Exactly the same,
Okay.
even the same carriers.
Okay.
And that information is posted on our website, and we hand something out to the parents suggesting that they take the insurance. We found out that the Chromebooks are not waterproof. Students found that out right away. So we had a couple of students test that, and they're now responsible for getting them fixed. We tried to have the manufacturer fix them. We sent them back to the manufacturer, and they said, nice try. So it didn't fly.
Questions?
Mr. Anderson, could you just talk to what would happen with the iPads once we have the new Chromebooks in hand? I know some art classes, for example, really do prefer the iPads, at least in class. So how would we go about kind of rotating them back through?
That's a great question, and we have a meeting on the calendar for tomorrow morning to talk about some of these things.
Great.
And the music classes, the art classes, they're used to using the Mac environment, right? So that kind of lends itself to the iOS devices and the Chrome and the iPads. But we believe that in most cases, they'll find apps that will work for them. They've already done it in the technology classes. Find apps that will work for them on the Chromebooks rather than on the iPads. And we have enough iPads, and we have plenty of carts, so we'll be able to meet the needs for next year. And even if we have to extend it another year, we can certainly do that for those classes. But we do need to get away from as many of the iPads as possible so we can focus on the Chromebooks. And that just means finding the right apps to meet the students' needs.
Thank you.
No problem.
With the rollout, will there be any training for the students with regard to the new devices? I know at the high school level, there was a couple of glitches where the Chromebooks were given out, and then there were some exams, and there was a difference between the way you would take an exam on an iPad versus what you would use and how you would be able to mark up documents through a separate application in order to do it on a Chromebook. So do we have any plans to bring the kids up to speed in terms of the new device and how to use it?
It's another great reason to try to get the Chromebooks in the hands of the students at the end of this school year rather than at the beginning of next school year. They'll have an opportunity to become familiar with the devices. The teachers and the staff at the middle school already have the devices, excuse me. And that's where a lot of the training will take place, teacher to student. And as long as the teachers are familiar with the technology, then the students will very quickly be brought up to speed. Often the students learn faster than the teachers with technology. But in this case, we've been able to get the devices in the hands of the teachers already. So they're already learning which apps they need on the Chromebooks and how they're going to offer their curriculum next year. And the Chromebook does lend itself more to Google Classroom than the iPad did, right? That's one of the reasons that we're making this switch. And since the middle school uses Google Classroom so much, it's going to be helpful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How many Chromebooks are we looking to buy?
1,000,
How much are they each?
$343 each.
That money's going to come out of this year's budget money?
A portion of it. When we make a purchase like this, we purchase it over 5 years. So it's 5 calendar years, 60 months, not 5 school years. So a small portion of it comes out of this calendar year, and, or this school year, I should say. And so if you look at the project, which you all have, I believe, you'll see that it, on Schedule D, it actually breaks it out over 6 years, because it's 6 school years, but it's 5 calendar years. So if you took the amount that was going to be paid in the 6th year and the 1st year and added them up, you'd get what the other years are. All right? So there's a small portion that comes out of this year, yes.
So we're giving them out to 3 grades. So are we taking back the seniors and then putting them in the hands of the 5th graders? Like, how are we doing that this year?
Well, this year, we're not going to give anything to the 5th graders as far as Chromebooks.
We're not giving them to
No,
the 5th
not
graders.
this year.
We're going to give them to
But-
them when they
right,
get
But
them.
next year,
And-
when the 5th grade goes into 6th grade during orientation,
Right.
that's when they'll get their devices.
And will those devices be the current senior devices,
Some will be.
basically?
A small handful will be. The seniors this year had the option of getting a Chromebook or keeping their iPad, and about 10% said they wanted the Chromebook.
Only 10%? Okay.
So we don't have as many to recycle as
So
a
we
full
don't have
grade.
that, right.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
So we're buying new ones that will cover that.
We have the new ones, because we bought them for the seniors. We just didn't give them to them, so we have them here in stock.
Okay. And then we have a lot of iPads.
We have a lot of iPads, yes.
And how, I know you mentioned that we'll use some for music and some for art, but we want to, how are we utilizing all this technology? Because because we're paying for it over 5 years, right? I just want to ensure, like, we are using these iPads that we sort of have in stock.
Absolutely. Some of the iPads will continue to be used in the middle and high school, as we said, in some of the classrooms. But certainly in the elementary schools, they'll all get refreshed, newer iPads. And a lot of the ones in the elementary schools are already older, right?
Right.
We literally took them out of the garbage initially to reuse them. Not a round garbage can next to the desk. It wasn't like that, but
Right, let's,
But
yeah.
you
Yeah, it's
understand what
not
I'm
really
saying. I mean-
It wasn't the garbage, it
we
was
have-
just the pile in the corner.
it was a
right?
pile in the corner.
Okay.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
That's a better graphic. But, so, we're using iPads, or have been using iPads that are 7 and 8 years old. So those will be put back in the
Put back
pile
in
in
the
the
corner,
corner.
right, yes.
And the students will be using the newest iPads, and as they get older, we still have to have a conversation on how we bring Chromebooks into the elementary schools. And, do we keep iPads at any grades going forward? That's an option for us, but that's something we still need to talk about. A lot of it has to do with the teachers and their preference and the direction from the district.
Do any of the elementary teachers have Chromebooks right now, or do they all have iPads?
They all have iPads.
Okay. So, and then this is my last question, I promise.
No problem.
We've been on a cycle where we buy new iPads, which are now Chromebooks, for our 5th graders and our 8th graders. Now, we will have basically brand-new devices from everybody from 6th up. Are we going to cycle in? What are we doing as far as how does the cycle change now?
The cycle's not going to change, and that's important. It already changed, and we need to get back to where we were. And we'll be there after this year, after this purchase of Chromebooks. We'll be where we need to be. We'll be able to purchase 2 grades, as you mentioned. It's the 5th grade and the 9th grade,
Okay.
and they keep the devices for 4 years. And at the end of the 4 years, we get them back and we put them into the elementary schools. So that has been our plan, is to get them into the elementary schools after they come out of the seniors' hands and the outgoing eighth grade.
Okay.
So after this year, we'll be back on
Then
that
we'll just
cycle,
go
and that's
back
where
to
we
the
need to
cycle.
be. That's a cycle that we can live with and sustain. Purchasing whole schools' worth of Chromebooks is not sustainable.
No, I would think not.
That option that you mentioned that we had offered to the seniors this year, whether they use the iPad or the Chromebook, that option does not exist anymore going forward, correct?
Correct.
We're just moving to the Chromebooks.
That's correct.
That's it.
Yes.
Any other questions?
So we're going to even phase out, are we going to phase out Apple from the art labs and music labs, or how are we doing?
That has not been a plan, at least not discussed with me.
Yeah, no, we know.
The devices in those labs, first of all, they're fairly new and expensive, and they really meet the needs of those classes. So our plan that I know of is to keep Apple in those classrooms, the music, the graphic arts, things like that.
That wouldn't be a recommendation we'd be making anytime soon. I think, to Mike's point, it's really important, particularly with what I like to call industry gear, that we want to be able to present that to the students that are working with that. So that wouldn't be a recommendation that I would be making anytime soon.
So, I mean, I'm just going to, hypothetically, we might at some point have to buy iPads for the future to update them, to continue to work. with
If we're
some of-
going to continue to need to use iPads in those classes, then yes, eventually we would have to purchase iPads. But I believe, and I know that Dr. Zuar's plan is to find alternative apps on the Chromebooks, so we don't have to continue to use the iPads. And as I said, that's already happened in the technology in the middle school. I met with those teachers and the principal a few weeks ago. We came up with a solution that works for the rest of this year and how we're going to move into the future using Chromebooks. So it's a getting used to period for everyone.
Yeah.
And she did say that was the last question, 3 questions ago.
Sorry.
You let it slide.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other questions?
I'm not allowed to. I've used my quota.
Thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you.
very
That's
welcome.
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
No problem.
Madam President, I'll just go right into my updates for reopening committee. We did have a reopening committee meeting, and we spoke on various topics, and in particular with the reopening and how we would phase in. So I had given some details to the committee about what we were thinking. Some of the parameters that we didn't have information to at the time. When we first presented this idea about phasing in at the board meeting, I was able to present out some of the details that we had, which I outlined in the letters that we sent out, particularly with barriers, the vaccination, and also the rates that were coming back over February break. I gave some of those details to the committee, also gave them an update in terms of what that would look like. Predominantly, the meeting took up a conversation between the two building principals and some of the concerns, as well as some of the challenges that we would be facing and how we would have to work through those. I'm just going to defer at this moment to Trustee Theon to give the report as she reported.
Thank you. We did meet, but, and at this point, a lot of this information feels old, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's what we met. We met back on March 1st, which seems like a long time ago now. We just, the committee went over once again why we were able to look at bringing our seniors and our eighth graders in this past Monday on the 8th. The most important things were we did a survey of our staff, and between 65 and 75% of our staff had vaccines, and this was P4 break. And in addition, we got a commitment from South Nassau Mount Sinai to vaccinate approximately 300 of our staff members over several weeks. This past Friday, 80 of our staff members were at South Nassau. They were vaccinated. Mr. Chang was there. We were on News 12, I think, right? Was that what we were on? So it was very exciting. I think we have 75 more coming tomorrow, and then we'll keep doing it until everybody is vaccinated who needs a vaccine. During the break, we did an initial order of our barriers. They came in very quickly, much quicker than we expected, as well as a number of cases have been coming down. We didn't see the kind of rise that we saw during over February break that we saw over December or Martin Luther King weekend. And as Mr. Chang said, he made a decision to do a phase-in of students, working week to week, seeing how everything went. We installed our initial barriers, and very quickly, both Ms. McGinn and Mr. Murphy said we needed more barriers. Second set were ordered and installed, and I believe now we even have more coming in. Different barriers, and Mrs. Barry and I were at the middle school. We saw a lot of the barriers for the tables were sort of retrofitted. Hats off and our grand thanks to our maintenance people and our custodians who apparently worked 2 weekends in a row to get everything going, and I think they plan to work this weekend too. So, the high school sent out a questionnaire. The high school just looked at seniors who said approximately, I think it was about 80% thought they would come back. I think it's actually been about 75 that came back, and 25% stayed remote. At the middle school, they have, I think, close to 95% coming in. Ms. McGinn, again, we were there, and Ms. McGinn said they're looking at, they're calling all sixth graders who haven't filled out their survey and getting very high results of people wanting to come back in. Currently, we have April 15th and 16th, which is the beginning of the fourth marking period, as a return day for students who have just chosen remote and want to come back in. During our meeting, we discussed an optional another day, and Ms. McGinn and Mr. Murphy agreed to May 17th, which is halfway through the fourth marking period. Ms. McGinn talked about teachers logging on if they didn't have remote students, but we don't really know if students will be remote, since students who are quarantined will still have remote options or sick. So we've decided that it was something that we wanted to continue for the time being. There was a question raised about contact tracing, and we just wanted to reiterate that we are not changing any contact tracing. 6 feet, 15 minutes will be quarantined because desks are closer. And I mean, at the middle school, we saw desks that were about 6 feet with a barrier in between. We're allowed to keep children that close, but because they're closer than 6 feet, there will be more quarantining, contact tracing. Ms. McGinn and Mr. Murphy will upload new schematics of rooms for Ms. Algerio-Vento to use for contact tracing, and change PowerSchool labeling to be adjusted to show if students are remote students. Currently, middle school allows access to lockers during advisory. It's staggered to eliminate gatherings, and they plan to do this, while the high school will not allow students to access lockers. Phys ed and music must remain 12 feet apart. I don't think that has changed yet, right? So phys ed will try to be outside as much as possible, and music will move into the larger rooms. And again, we saw chorus at the middle school moved into the auditorium, and the band moved into the chorus room because the chorus room is that's much bigger. Mr. Chang will, I'm assuming, this says will meet with staff. I'm assuming Mr. Chang met with staff to hold a Q&A.
I have met with staff, yes.
And that was our meeting.
Thank you. Any questions for anybody that was on the committee?
You're too thorough, Mrs. Beal.
Sorry, she covered it all.
Well, actually, it's really not that. It's that we've already had a forum. It's
Right.
it's kind of old news, but it's good to go over.
That's good to hear what was discussed, and
Yeah.
I'm just so happy the kids are coming back. Sounds like they're having a good experience. The principals are excited, teachers are excited, and that's what everybody wanted. So thank you very much. Okay.
So that segues me right into the last part of just an update on the first phase in. Again, we're at Thursday. I could tell you it went really well. We were, obviously there's natural angst when you're bringing back students. This is completely brand new to us. But on Monday, we had the kids come in. And when they came in, I could tell you that our kids were definitely excited to see each other, but they were also really excited to see the teachers. I think there was so much going on in these classrooms that, I'd walk past the room and no one even noticed that I was walking past the room. So it was good. It was good to have that level of energy, and I think there's a little, bit of breathing that's happening. Right? We're finding some breathing room. We're getting back to that level of normalcy. So we'll continue to do that, and we're looking forward to doing that next week. As an update, just wanted to let people know that due to having our first phase in, I don't know if it's the direct impact of, but our remote numbers have gone down. We were well over 550 when I last reported. We are now at 425. Am I correct with that,
Correct.
Dr. Lay? And our quarantine numbers are also way down. So we've got 55 people that are on quarantine at the moment. And then for next week, with the 9th and the 6th graders coming back in, we're expecting about 90% of the 9th graders to come and show up on Monday. And we have about a 95% returning for 6th grade on Monday as well. So we're looking forward to welcoming those people back. As part of this first phase in, we've learned a lot in terms of just spacing and what other things that we may need, which is the reason why we had to order additional barriers. Because once the kids start to come in, particularly at the high school level, it becomes very tricky because these kids are moving through classes 9 times a day. So on any given time, at any given day, you could have 25 kids moving around into multiple classrooms. So you kind of need to ensure that all the barriers are there and able to kind of be provided for. And then also these special area classrooms, as we spoke about, became, some of the desk configurations are very different. When you have a large keyboard or when you are in a science lab, those things all kind of take into account. So we want to ensure that we have those coming. So we are all ready and ready to go and making adjustments as needed. I'm sure we'll learn more next week and we'll adjust. But the weather's been good. The weather's supposed to get better, so our windows are going to start opening. And our practices, our protocols that are in place, which have gotten us this far, are going to continue to sustain us, and what gives us the confidence to say we're able to bring in more students week by week. So after the 22nd, when we welcome everybody back in, I plan to report out on our phase-in for phase-in 2 and phase-in 3 at the 25th board meeting as well. So that is my report for now. And turn it back to you, Madam President.
Thank you. We'd also love to invite our principals or assistant principals, anybody from the middle or high school, to join us at a future meeting and tell us how it's going for them. They're always welcome. We know that they're busy, but we'd love to have them. And just since we're talking about March, just ahead of our next meeting, we are going to be talking about the Board of Ed mid-year walkthroughs that we've all been doing at all of the schools. We visited all 7 schools and the greenhouse. So what we're going to be doing is board members are going to join PTA meetings in the month of March. So if you have any meetings for your schools on the calendar, board members will attend those meetings virtually because they're being held virtually right now, and just help answer any questions or hear any concerns about buildings or things that are happening so that we can bring those back together as a group. So just wanted to let everybody know that we'd be doing that again in March. And then on the 25th, like we talked about, we'll be talking about some of those capital improvement projects and plans that we have for next year. So we'll roll that out at the March 25th meeting. Okay, so we have one policy that's being added tonight. It's 3280F, and it's the community use of facilities. It's a form. So I'm just going to pull that up and open this up. So Mrs. Wong, I know Mr. Bartels couldn't join us tonight, but could you just give us a quick debriefing on what happened with this form?
So NYSER does an annual review, and they had asked us to add language into our use of facilities form,
Okay.
which is the language straight from them,
Okay.
updating the form.
So everything that we're looking at in red is additional language that NYSER is recommending straight from them. The only question or concern I had about the existing information, not in red, was we talk about insurance that's needed, and I have to just find what bullet it was. I think it's under number 1, actually. But it talks about insurance needed, or is it for groups that are attending by more than 150 people at any given time? And I know that we're not living in a world where that's a possibility right now. So I was a little worried about the language because it has that number in there, and I was wondering if we should make sure that this is coordinating with the guidelines that we're being given. We don't want to give the impression that use of facilities form that this is allowing, because they have the insurance, them to have 150 people here in one of our facilities, because since that's not really allowed right now, I didn't know if we needed to handle that.
I think we could handle it in one of two ways, and this is what I would recommend. Kind of the same way we do with the facility use form for this year when we put in the COVID parameters.
Yep.
Maybe we just add in parentheses the COVID parameters during the time of COVID.
Okay.
Because you don't want to go back and change that form completely and then have to
No.
come back and change it again. So
I
think
agree.
we
I don't
leave
want to take it out, but I just don't want to give the impression that
Correct.
it's allowable,
Yeah.
because we're putting it through right now, and I think that we would be missing that opportunity. I'm fine with adding language that would match some of the other policies if the board agrees.
If we put COVID in, shouldn't we make it more of a general term than a specific to this? I'm just,
How
Yeah,
do we
that's what I
do
would-
some of the
I think
others?
that's what I was suggesting. It would be one general term of COVID restrictions apply during.
Outside of this. Right. Outside of this, yeah.
Right,
This is
not,
the way we move forward, except if something happens. That's what you're talking about? Except if COVID restrictions restrict us, but what about if other restrictions restrict us?
Right. You mean, God forbid, there's something else in the future that's
Something.
not COVID,
Right.
but similar.
Yes, whatever it is.
Right, we don't want to think that way, but we could have that case.
Yeah, we could, point taken in terms
You
of
know, I
maybe
don't know how to,
for any, I guess, something along the lines of any overriding
public health emergency.
public health emergencies.
that's-
Could
that's-
asterisk it.
That's probably,
Yeah.
one of the, a better way to go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam
It
Secretary.
gives us more leverage on that one.
Yep. Agreed.
Does anybody else have any comments or questions about this form? No?
No.
So can make that's change, and everybody okay with moving it forward to stage 2 with that change?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Then that's what we will do.
Can I just, I know as we will probably start using the old form to push us through the summer or however far it goes, are we making any suggestion to the form, to people who are applying for use now, that we're instituting a change that you must comply with in the future, or we can't do that? How do we address that?
I think you got to get through the stages first, because until you get through the full stages of this, right? Jackie, this is stage 1, right, of this?
This is stage one, we're
Yeah,
moving to
so
stage two next.
once you get to stage 2, and then you're in the approval mode, I think then we could, because you're closer to it, I think if you do it now, it's,
No, can we tell the people who have already filed that we've given permission to use the field July 25th or however far out it is? Can we tell them that they must comply to this rule at that point, or is that too late?
yeah, I think we can, it's well within our rights to do that, yeah.
Okay.
Don't we already have something that we've added now, if people are using the outdoor space now, to say that they need to comply with COVID rules as an addendum or something to
We
it?
do, yeah.
Right, so temporarily,
So
until
we're
this
covered
gets,
by-
right, we would continue to use what we've already implemented to make sure we're following the rules, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have things already in place, so therefore this wouldn't supersede that, is what we were pretty much saying, okay, yeah.
And the biggest changes, like Mrs. Wong was saying, was the nicer language.
Yep.
So that's not going to change the whole basis of it. Okay, so we'll move it forward to stage 2, and we'll put that back on at the next meeting. I think that wraps up our table business, so we're going to move on to our actions. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the February 24th Public Work Session and Budget Work Session?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the financial reports as listed?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to accept receipts of the financial reports as listed?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And finally, can I have a motion to approve board actions A through E?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. We are going to see you next time for March 25th meeting. It's a regular meeting of the Board of Education, and we'll see you then. Be well. Thank you so much.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Liz likes this one. A second?
Second. Point of order.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now I'm officially allowed to say goodnight. Thank you.